Hey guys, my name is Gabriel Cruz. Now, I'm also going to be I've started a couple series on my channel already, so, and also this is going to be a natural disasters series. I meant to say. This one is going to be about Yellowstone. So, it's America's first national park, and is also one of the world's largest supervolcanoes. Now, this has happened before. About 640,000 years ago, it devastated over half of North America, and it will happen again. So, the first signs of trouble would be increase in seismic activity. The ground would start to rise in parts of the national park as pressure from the molten rock underneath begins to grow. So there would be a lot of ground deformation. And then you'd actually start seeing large changes in the geyser basins. Then after that, finally, the magma would blast through the Earth's surface with an explosion 10 times larger than Mount St. Helens. A hurricane of pyroclastic flows would spread out in all directions horizontally as the ash cloud reaches 80,000 feet into the air. Now, already larger than anything man has experienced, that would actually be only the beginning of a Yellowstone Super eruption. Within hours, a second enormous vent would open up, then another. And vent after vent around the park would start opening up like confetti. And then the mixtures of churning avalanches of rock, ash, and gas and debris at like 500 degrees Fahrenheit, 500 to 550 degrees Fahrenheit, called pyroclastic flows, would spread out 70 miles from the center of the national park. No, 100 miles from the center of the national park, actually. And also, the ash cloud would reach 80,000 feet into the air, which is 15 miles. Then it would start to spread out horizontally. It would reach like 15 to 20 miles, and it would start spreading out in all directions after that, and it would spread across the United States. But the biggest danger is not the ash that spreads across the sky, which would spread across the U.S., but the gases, like sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, many other gases, would rise up into the mesosphere. It would rise 10 miles through the troposphere, then through the stratosphere, and probably into the mesosphere, and would circle the globe and cause temperatures to drop. Now, how do we know this will happen? Because it's happened before. The last 3 eruptions of Yellowstone were 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, and 640,000 years ago. The 2.1 million year ago eruption, the Huckleberry Ridge, was the first of the Yellowstone eruptions and the biggest. So the next eruption is said to reach the size of the Huckleberry Ridge eruption. Now, the eruption of Yellowstone 75,000 years ago, the volcano on the island of Sumatra, which is a supervolcano called Toba, exploded and caused temperatures around the world to plummet. And after that, because there were not even close to as many humans as there were today. There were actually about not many at all. Only probably about 100 million people lived on the Earth 75,000 years ago. And the volcano almost put an extinction to the human race. Now, when Yellowstone erupts, because there are about like 7.5 billion people inhabiting the Earth, the next Yellowstone eruption is said to equal the Huckleberry Ridge eruption, which is just insane. And Toba's eruption 75,000 years ago was the largest out of the last 2 million years. So it was a big one. And yeah. That's a funny commercial on TV. So, the explosion of it, like, after the first explosion, there will be swelling all over the park. And then, eventually, they'll just explode into the atmosphere while it's erupting. And we'd be looking at an eruption lasting 5 to 9 days, and it doesn't matter how long it lasts. You'd definitely be looking at a VEI 8, which is a super eruption. People think it being a super eruption is the worst case scenario, but no, that's not. The super eruption is not the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is a super eruption that goes on and on and on and on. If a volcano ejects more than 1,000 cubic kilometers, then it's a super eruption. The magma chamber below Yellowstone has a capacity of 25,000 cubic kilometers. The issue is, nobody knows how much of that is eruptible magma. And when it explodes, no one knows how big of an eruption it will be. And after that, it's going to be mad. So, the amount of, now, in Yellowstone's magma chamber, the about 15,000 cubic kilometers of it is not eruptible. So about about 20,000 cubic kilometers in Yellowstone's magma chamber is non-eruptible. So, about 5,000 cubic kilometers are eruptible. The Huckleberry Ridge eruption ejected 2,500 cubic kilometers. You're talking about an eruption that will be bigger than the Huckleberry Ridge. Not can be bigger, but will. Now, when I say Yellowstone's magma chamber is 25,000 cubic kilometers of it, what I'm talking about that is the magma chamber is actually just 5,000 cubic kilometers, and there's a plume of magma below that's mostly solid rock that is those 20,000 cubic kilometers, which is mostly solid rock, and parts of it are melting, and then more comes up into the plume and solidifies, and it's feeding the magma chamber by about 2 centimeters a year. It is said that Yellowstone could erupt in 100 years. Maybe, actually, it's said it could erupt in 20 years, 70 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or maybe 100,000 years from now. But no matter what, we all have to know supervolcanic eruptions do happen. But just to be cautious, I'm curious if there's any way we could stop one. Now, some people have suggested, okay, it says up here on the website I'm on right now, that people have suggested drilling hundreds or thousands of holes to relieve the pressure to the magma chamber, drilled down to the magma chamber, hundreds or thousands of 10,000 or 10,000s of holes drill down to the magma chamber to relieve the pressure. But that would not work. It would just, what you're doing is just basically a pinprick in a huge magma chamber. The magma chamber is 5,000 cubic kilometers, remember that. The plume of magma is 20,000 cubic kilometers. Now, the magma chamber only has about 5,000 cubic kilometers in it. No big deal. Now, it just wouldn't work because it's like just a pinprick. So, just one sec again. Okay, so there are some people who have also suggested putting something over Yellowstone. Like, put a glass dome over Yellowstone. I mean, what the heck? That would not work at all. First of all, Yellowstone is 2 million acres. 2 million acres is equivalent to 3,100 cubic miles. I mean, not cube. Okay. 2 million acres is equivalent to 3,100 square miles. You would not be able to put a dome over it. I mean, a glass dome, really. He says the top of the dome would be 10 feet above the base of the national park and evacuate everyone and the service and then build the dome over it to stop the eruption. Okay, that would not work at all. Because, first of all, it would just blast it apart. And also, second of all, it would just melt. And also, third of all, Yellowstone's a national park. No one would allow anyone to do that. Next one. Okay. Another suggestion someone has is, okay, this guy is being silly. This isn't really suggesting. He's like, how about Trump builds a wall around it instead of Mexico? Okay, really? What the heck? That would not work at all. It's just stupid. So, I'm not even going to bother reading that. Oh, this one. Okay, this guy also suggested one. He put, maybe we could, like, put something down in the magma chamber to solidify it. First of all, that would not work either, because there's no known technology that could solidify 5,000 cubic kilometers of magma. Nothing that humans have could, except water, could really solidify the magma. Now, this guy is saying, take many holes and pour the water in. That would not work, because it'd solidify the holes. And also, you can't open up the holes, caldera, the whole national park. That'll cause it to go off. And also, we wouldn't even be able to do that. Like I said earlier, it's just a pinprick. And also, that would take hundreds, a couple centuries. So, we wouldn't get a chance to do that before Yellowstone erupts. And also, it wouldn't work at all. Okay, I just exited the website. There's no known technology to stop a super eruption. Because of that, is there any way that the United States could deal with it? Yes, there is. The government is encouraging people to be able to pack many days worth of supplies, such as food, water, food and water, about maybe a couple months worth of it, fill an entire storage room of it, add a storage room onto it and completely fill it with food and water. That's probably worth a couple of years. First of all, now that's a good idea. Now, my family, in our house, we don't have a basement. We can't put it in the attic because that's where a lot of stuff is. We can't get the stuff down out of the attic, like our Christmas stuff, and shove it into one of our rooms because our closets are not enough. We're not going to put it in our bedrooms. We're not going to put it in the bathroom. We're not going to put it in the kitchen. Where are we going to put it? We're not going to put it in the living room. So, there's pretty much no way to stop one of those eruptions, basically. Well, also, there's a way for the United States to be prepared. Get a mask and over your eyes and put goggles on and stay at your house. As the ash is raining down, shovel off your roofs. Now, wet ash is 6 times heavier than wet snow. Now, if you have, well, where I live in North Carolina, would only get about half an inch to an inch of the ash. So we wouldn't really have to shovel off our roofs. It'd be a good idea, but we wouldn't have to. I'd do that just to be safe, but still. No way to stop a super eruption. A lot of people are going to die worldwide. Now, people have been wondering, what about the pets? Like your dogs or cats. Your dogs have to go outside to use the bathroom. You don't have to put your cats out. Bring them inside and don't let your dogs go out. I mean, if they make a mess on the floor, just clean it up. I mean, getting a ton of messes to clean up, like hundreds of messes to clean up, is better than having your pets die in the ash by inhaling it. And one other thing is that if you live in an area where you'll get about 6 inches of ash, you'll have to shovel off your roofs to keep your roofs, parts of your roofs, from collapsing. Because you'd be getting about 6 inches. I mean, so the surrounding 100 miles from Yellowstone, from the very center of Yellowstone, the surrounding 100 miles from the center of Yellowstone would have to evacuate because pyroclastic flows will radiate 70 miles, actually about 80 miles from the center of Yellowstone. And then as they stop, hot ash and gas from the pyroclastic flows would keep moving, except it wouldn't be in a surge. It would just be floating forward. And people would inhale that if they're still in there and probably suffocate on it. Now, the surrounding 200 miles from the center of Yellowstone would have to prepare for a terrible eruption. Bozeman, Montana is 75 miles from the borders of Yellowstone. So when Yellowstone erupts, the pyroclastic flows would not even be able to reach there. The gas probably won't be able to reach there, but just a sec. Let me look up something. Distance from Bozeman, Montana to the center of Yellowstone. Center of Yellowstone. Because Bozeman, Montana is 85 miles from the center of Yellowstone. 85 miles from the edges of Yellowstone, actually. Whoops. The gases and ash from the pyroclastic flows after they stop will not reach there, although people from Bozeman, they would be having to constantly shovel their roofs. And they would have to pack a ton of stuff because they'll be getting maybe about 2 feet of ash and pumice. That's an insane amount. So, one suggestion for people being safe from volcanic eruptions like this, like Yellowstone's eruption. Just to tell you, super eruptions do happen. Disasters do happen. People will die. People will be idiots and not get anything and not shovel off their roof, being lazy. Now, if the only person who lives in the house is paralyzed and in a wheelchair, I can understand that they can't shovel off their roofs. But what they need to do, get tons of water and food, go outside to drive yourself to an area with tons of food and water, and then go inside and stay there until the ash and pumice subsides. And then go home to your house and see if if there's been enough damage that the house is uninhabitable. So, that's a suggestion I have. So, other videos on my channel are like, the next video on my channel is going to be about, like, if an asteroid impact, if a No, not an asteroid. If a tsunami hits the coast where you are, that will be my next video. So, stay safe when it comes to natural disasters or just disasters in general. Keep up with your safety. Safety's first. Water's first before. So water and food should come. If there's a natural disaster, don't even waste your time just playing games if your parents ask you to come with them. Like tell you to come with them to get food and water. Don't just shrug it off and say, it's not going to harm us, and just keep doing whatever you're doing. Go with them. Get the stuff that they need. It's just... Some people are idiots. This happened in 1980 at Mount St. Helens. The 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens on May 18th at 8:32 a.m. to 9 o'clock that night. It was such... I mean, pretty much everyone knows what happened. Here's a volcano. The earthquake, that was 5.1 on the Richter scale, caused the north flank to collapse and then explode out the side, called a directed lateral blast. And it devastated 230 square miles of land from the blast, and resulting mud flows called lahars devastated 150. So 370 square miles were devastated. Now, that killed 57 people because people were already into the north face evacuating. I mean, it erupted before everyone could be evacuated. So, from Yellowstone, what we would need is about, at the minimum, we would need 1 year of evacuation. So, of course, there will be chaos and food riots for like during an eruption. But also what you need to do when Yellowstone erupts is pack your home with weapons, because if a food riot busts into your house and tries to kill you, and you don't have any weapons, and you don't know how to beat them up and get them off you, there's a possibility you could be killed. So what you need to do is arm yourself during the eruption and afterward for the next couple of years. Just a reminder, my name is Gabriel Cruz. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and comment. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.